Romantic relationships play a crucial role in our lives. We all know that. It influences our emotional well being and personal growth. So, when things go wrong in a relationship, people sometimes blame their parents. They often say, "My parents are messed up," or "I'm messed up because of them." The reasons maybe they were too hovering or not too much involved, or maybe they were too strict or too lenient, or maybe they were too demanding or not demanding enough, or maybe they were not there, not giving you emotional support in a way you had wished for some reason or the other. Whether we realize it or not, the relationship or no relationship between our parents subconsciously informs us how we navigate dating and relationships as adults. Because, parents are our first relationships, our first example. They are the first role models of how we communicate, develop, and maintain relationships. That's how we form our attachment style, also. It's not directly taught to us, but we pick it up by observing and then emulating later. As a child, we're like a sponge, observing and soaking up whatever our parents' attitudes are. Marital issues like abusive behavior, trust, intimacy, expression of emotions, our style of communication, conflict resolution, issues like these are dependent on our parents' relationship. And that's because what we see our parents do and how they interact with each other, how they resolve conflicts, that becomes a standard for us. We consider it as a normal behavior. And then later, in our romantic relationships, we reenact those behaviors. But parents are not the only contributors to how we do in our love life. Our relationships with friends, relatives, neighbors, classmates, teachers, co-workers, bosses, past lovers, they all impact us. It is valid to recognize the impact of your upbringing on your romantic relationships, but if you put all the blame on the parents all the time, that can prevent you from taking ownership of your actions and hinder your self growth. Also, if you keep accusing your parents, it can strain your relationship with them. There is also something that is opposite of blaming the parents. You must have heard people saying this, "That's how I was raised." At least I have heard this numerous times. They think that the way they were raised is a perfect and the right way. And if things don't work out in their relationships, it's the other person to be blamed. Either way, whether they believe it's their parents' fault or whether they believe they were raised perfectly, it's not helping their current love relationship because they are not taking accountability of their own actions and behaviors. And that blocks them from learning from mistakes and improving their relationship. Dwelling on your parents' mistakes can be one of your defense mechanism, just because it's easier to blame than facing your fears, disappointments, and uncertainties about your own life decisions. The more you focus on what they did wrong, the less mental energy it lets you use to think about how you want to move forward with your life. So, how can you get past that blame? Acknowledge to yourself that your parents are human too. We often forget they had a life before us. They had experiences and challenges. They made mistakes. They had parents of their own, a childhood. They had friends and relationships. They inherited their own set of genes from their parents, and how their parents brought them up influences the way they brought you up. And they raised you with whatever resources they had at the time. We are all creations of the generation before. And please don't forget to remind this to your children also, because they may be doing the same thing, blaming you for things going wrong. You can be the person who breaks this generational cycle. So think before you present yourself as a victim next time and say that your parents were messed up, because you have a choice. Another thing you can do is talk to your parents if they're alive and ask them what did they experience in their childhood and their life before you that may have influenced such and such behavior. What was their relationship like with their parents? You ask them because it helps you understand them better. But just keep in mind, your parents may not share and open up. After all, it's not easy to face one's demons, actions, challenges, and frustrations. Next, Develop compassion for your parents. It will allow you to see their weaknesses. It lets you see their attempts to care for you. It makes you more compassionate for your intimate partner as well. It makes you more open to being loved by others and establish satisfying and healthy relationships. Also, it brings you closer to self-awareness, and as a result, you reflect on your own behaviors, patterns, and reactions in relationships because it helps you see the root cause. And knowing the root cause, it can help you address the issues. And it also helps you avoid making the same mistakes your parents made. Remember, our past may influence us, it does not define our future. I will leave you with this story. It's a story of two brothers whose father was abusive and alcoholic. When these brothers grew up, one of them became alcoholic and the other did not. He became a successful business person. So one day people asked the brother who was alcoholic, "Why do you drink so much?" And he replies, "What choice do I have? My father is an alcoholic. What do you expect me to be? That is what I am now." Then the same question was asked to the other brother. And he says, "As a little boy, I saw my father drunk and doing all kinds of wrong things. I made up my mind. That is not what I wanted to be." He believes that his circumstances should not hold him back from achieving a better life. Now, that's a growth mindset. Whereas the alcoholic brother believes that his circumstances control his life and he can never get away from it or even improve. So he may as well conform to the narrative that life has already been established for him. That's a fixed mindset. We don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond. We cannot always control the circumstances, but we have control over our reactions. These two sons grew up in the same house with the same circumstances. However, they chose completely different paths as a result of their situation. We all have the power to choose.